Okay, so we're diving deep today into Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Ooh, this one's a classic. Love it or hate it, everyone's got an opinion on this book.
Right, like it's been on my shelf forever. And I was thinking, how many people have actually, really dug into this thing?
I know, it's easy to just read and be like, yeah, Rich Dad, good advice. But are we actually putting it into practice?
That's what we're here for. So, to recap quickly, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it's all about this guy, Robert Kiyosaki, right?
Right. He contrasts his own dad, poor dad, who's like super educated, but always struggling financially.
With his friend's dad,
Okay.
Rich Dad,
Right.
who's like this entrepreneur dude who's killing it.
Yeah. And Kiyosaki's saying, look, maybe conventional wisdom about working hard, getting a degree, saving money, maybe that's not the whole picture.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. What if there's another way?
Exactly. And that's what makes this book so interesting, right? It challenges you to think differently about money.
Totally. So let's jump into the first big lesson, right?
Okay, hit me.
The rich don't work for money. That's a
Yeah.
bold statement.
It is. But what Kiyosaki's saying is, the rich, they build assets,
Assets, meaning,
things that make money for them, even when they're not actively working. Passive income, that's the goal.
okay, so that story about Rich Dad buying the apartment building?
Yes, that's the perfect example. He's not working at that building, but he's making money from it.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about us regular folks?
Right. It's not like we can all just go buy an apartment building.
Exactly. So how do we apply this?
Start small. Could you rent out a spare room? Maybe create an online course and sell it. Or even, invest in some dividend-paying stocks.
See, those are great examples because they're achievable.
Right. It's about getting creative and finding ways to make your money work for you, even a little bit.
Okay, I'm already feeling a mind shift happening here.
That's the goal. Now, the next lesson, this one's crucial.
Lay it on me.
Mind your own business. This one throws people off sometimes.
Yeah, because at first it sounds like quit your job, be your own boss.
Right. But it's not that literal. It's more about being financially savvy.
Like treating your finances like a business.
Exactly. Like if you were running a business, you wouldn't just ignore your books.
No way.
Yeah.
You got to know where the money's coming from, where it's going.
That's it. Rich Dad is saying apply that same thinking to your personal finances.
So, okay, let's say I'm working a 9 to 5. I'm not an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
How do I mind my own business?
Think about it this way. Even in your job, are there opportunities to negotiate a raise?
Okay, yeah.
Could you contribute more to your 401k? Maybe start a side hustle using your current skills.
Ooh, a side hustle. That's interesting.
Right. It's about being proactive, looking for ways to grow your financial knowledge and resources.
Makes sense. Now, Kiyosaki also talks about taxes, and this is where things get controversial.
Yeah, he definitely has strong opinions on taxes.
He goes into the history of taxes, argues that the system favors corporations and the wealthy,
He does. Remember that example of how corporations can write off certain expenses that regular folks can't?
It's like, how come they get to do that and we don't?
Well, the point is not necessarily to, avoid taxes altogether,
Right.
but to understand how the system works.
Okay.
And if you're smart about it, use the rules to your advantage. Legally, of course.
This is where having a financial advisor is key, right? Someone who knows all the ins and outs.
Absolutely. Tax laws are complex. They change all the time. You don't want to mess around with that stuff.
Definitely need a pro in your corner for that. Okay, shifting gears a bit. Let's talk about fear and doubt. This is something we all struggle with, right?
Absolutely. We're hardwired to avoid risk. That's just human nature.
Right, but Kiyosaki says you got to overcome that fear of failure.
He's not saying be reckless, but he is saying don't let fear paralyze you.
He encourages people to take action, even if they're scared.
And to learn from their mistakes. Because, let's face it, everyone makes mistakes.
Especially when it comes to money.
Exactly. So instead of beating yourself up over a misstep, think of it as a learning experience.
Oh, this reminds me of when I first started investing. I was so terrified of losing money.
Oh, yeah, I know that feeling.
I played it so safe, it took me ages to finally buy any stocks.
But you eventually did it.
I did. And you know what? I made some mistakes along the way.
I bet you learned from them, though.
I definitely did. Each one taught me something valuable about the market, about myself as an investor.
See? That's exactly what Rich Dad is talking about, overcoming that initial fear.
Right. Okay, so that brings us to the final lesson, right?
Right, and it's a big one. The importance of financial education.
This is something I'm passionate about.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just know how to balance your checkbook.
Nope. You got to understand investing, real estate, business principles.
It's about becoming financially fluent, like being able to speak the language of money.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Because it is like learning a new language.
Mm.
The more you know, the better you can navigate the financial world.
Exactly. And the best part is, you don't need a fancy degree for this.
Right. There are so many resources available. Books, podcasts, online courses.
It's all about being curious and taking that first step.
So to wrap up, we've covered a lot today. Mindset shifts, building assets, financial education.
It's all about taking control of your financial future.
And if you could ask Rich Dad one question, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good one. What would yours be?
Honestly, I'd ask him, what's the biggest mistake you see people making?
Good question. Makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. And that's the beauty of this book. It sparks those kinds of questions.
Gets the wheels turning.
Exactly. So keep those questions in mind as you continue your own financial journey.
And remember, the path to financial freedom, it starts with a single step.
So what are you waiting for?